Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first streamed bracket stage match of MWS, the Monodramatic World Stage. My name is Gabby Crayola, and I will be your caster for today. Unfortunately, I'll be the only caster, and it is 2 a.m. for me, but, you know, I won't be able to bring the most hype cast today. Unfortunately, I do not want my parents to come whoop my ass in the middle of the stream, but it is what it is. We're gonna be witnessing a matchup between owoMaxx and Horimiya. You know, this is of course one of the many matches that we have lined up throughout this entire week, and I'm very excited to be seeing these first few matches and, you know, sort of getting a feel for what the tournament gimmick is about. Of course, in case you don't know, right, this entire tournament has a cool HP system. I read a bit about it in the rules doc, but unfortunately not too sure how exactly it plays out in, you know, in practice in a match. So we'll definitely be taking a trip together, so do bear with me if I'm not the most familiar. But we're gonna get into standard tournament routine, and it looks like we're gonna see Horimiya going for that Hard Rock 3 ban at the very beginning. Unfortunate, you know, this is a custom map from my own tournament, Hard Rock 3, so kind of unfortunate to see it go, you know, but it is what it is. Gonna take a quick look at the statistic coming in from both players, and, you know, it seems as though owoMaxx is a lot more oriented when it comes to the Hard Rocks, when it comes to the double time, especially their double time performances across the board is incredibly impressive. You're looking at a player that doesn't drop below C24 on any double time map, so that's it. I mean, very strong player when it comes to that genre of perhaps more mechanically intensive maps. And meanwhile, you know, Horimiya has a lot of standout performances here and there. Their standout performances are a bit more, you know, sporadic, for lack of a better term. You're looking at a number 3 all the way in DT2 amongst other standout performances. But we're gonna see owoMaxx actually open up with a normal 4 ban as well, and so across the board, you're seeing that both players really don't want to play into that tech skill set at all. Rather interesting. I mean, I don't think either side is particularly weak on that Nomad 4, but perhaps it's because, you know, both sides aren't the weakest when it comes to the tech, that they just kind of want to avoid it as much as possible. But yeah, looks like we are gonna get into what I believe is the pillars mechanic neutralization. I think that's what it is. Hold on, let me pull up the website real quick. Path rules. There we go. This can't be right. This can't be right. This is too much reading for me. Like, I'm kind of just opening up the the rules doc right now, and I'm kind of dumbfounded. So we're just gonna roll with it. And it looks like we're gonna kickstart this matchup off with a PS1, a PS slot to kickstart the first match of this tournament. You'll love to see it. All right. Gonna jump straight into it. I believe this is the gimmicky slot of the tournament. I mean, CS5 AR5 OD5, you know, some ominous map stats to say the very least. We're gonna jump straight into it. I believe this is a reading intensive map. A lot of big sliders that, you know, go across the entire screen, a lot of slider ticks as well, and we're gonna jump straight into it right here, right now. The PS slots, the PS1 slot in particular, typically known for being your, you know, practice heavy slot. So we're gonna see Horimiya open with it, and, you know, as expected, to kickstart this matchup, Horimiya is gonna pull ahead with a slight score lead. It'll take a bit for this map to heat up, however. Nothing much to comment about, you know. Just all these back and forth, all of these big sliders coming in. But it seems as though when it comes to the comfort coming in from both of these players, owoMaxx really seems to be falling short, as Horimiya, you know, more than halfway through the map, going into the last third, is holding that substantial combo and accuracy lead across the board. And, you know, really, this is a very polarizing map. It's a practice or you die kind of map. and Reed Horimiya just seems to be exercising that much more comfort. You know, they definitely looked at this map beforehand, and yeah, it is paying off for them as we move to the tail end of this map. A 460k score difference in favor of Reed Horimiya, and that's gonna be a max damage attack going to owoMaxx, hitting that 350k threshold instantly towards owoMaxx. A very good way to start off Reed for Horimiya's first pick. You love to see it. But how will owoMaxx respond with it? You know, this is very interesting. I was definitely not. It never occurred to me that, you know, these practice heavy polarizing maps will be so detrimental in a format as volatile as this. Because if you think about it, you know, you just kind of need two of these 350k leads over your opponent before it's just a very simple, you know, 200, 100, 200k lead to go into your next two maps. So across the board, you know, a very good start for Reed Horimiya. That practice definitely paying off, and we're instantly gonna pivot into a DT3 from owoMaxx. DTs are very interesting, I think, in this tournament, because the potential to rack up a lot of score on a DT map is very strong, and it's something that cannot be understated whatsoever. It is going to come from a position of course, that comfort, and as well as, you know, the RNG nature of low SR just makes the score line even more volatile. But we'll be interested to see how whether owoMaxx is going to be able to capitalize off this DT pick, because as it stands right now, both players seem pretty even when it comes to the comfort. This DT3 is going to be all about that finger control, a lot of weird rhythmic patterns. You have these thirds into single notes. But we are out of the the first tapping section, and we're gonna get into a more calm section, some room for these players to breathe, gonna get some of that free combo on the board. And as it stands now, owoMaxx gonna hold that slight accuracy lead, albeit not by any significant margin. As we move into that first KI, gonna be all about these doubles, these 5-note bursts instantly come in, and Reed Horimiya is gonna be the first one to find that miss. Going to the second third of the map, break opens up, owoMaxx is now in the clear. And this is where things begin to get sketchy, right? Because now owoMaxx is premising that incredible combo lead, going into a more free combo section. They're gonna be able to grow that score lead more and more in favor of more and more in favor towards that left side. We're gonna move into the next KI, and owoMaxx's score is just gonna keep compounding and compounding as the map draws on. We're already almost at 200k and counting, and you know, there is still a third of the map through. So if owoMaxx holds, as I say that, unfortunately goes down, which is gonna stop the bleeding for Reed Horimiya, and now he's back on the attack. The break opens, and now the reverse of the first break has played out. Reed Horimiya now has that combo advantage. We're going to the last quarter, and I think, you know, it doesn't really matter whether Reed Horimiya can get this point. What's more important is that they're able to, you know, save themselves from the detrimental amount of HP drain that they would have received had owoMaxx not found a miss. And that next miss coming in from owoMaxx gonna, you know, continue to perpetuate the recovery coming in from Reed Horimiya, and they are punching extremely close, less than a 50k score lead as we move into the last eighth of the map. Not gonna be quite enough, I believe, to turn the scoreline in their favor, but for what it's worth, I mean, it's getting very close. Last few bursts coming off the map, and it's gonna be insanely close. A 900, a 1k score difference between both of these players. It doesn't matter, however. owoMaxx might get the point, but for what it's worth, Reed Horimiya barely took any damage from that one pick. And we're already seeing a huge HP differential coming in from both of these players. Reed Horimiya basically neutralized that double time 3 coming in from owoMaxx, and meanwhile, owoMaxx took a huge hit from that PS1. So already a very good start, especially considering that I believe Reed Horimiya is the lower seeded player. The stat sheet, unfortunately, is not very updated, so I can't give you the exact seeding between both of these players, but I mean, for what it's worth, very good start to kickstart this map, and we're gonna go into that no mod 3. You know, it seems as though Reed Horimiya wants to play in sort of that control-y ballpark. We saw that with, you know, how we saw that with the PS1 pick. That map is very intensive on your cursor control and your slider tick, your ability to hit through slider ticks. And you know, this no mod 3, oh my god, this no mod 3, although not by no means similar to that PS1, it does share some of that, you know, aim control quality that we saw from the PS1. This map is a 152 BPM map. It is a map that mainly tests your flow aim, although it does mix in some conventional alt skill sets. You know, you got some that snap alt in. But yeah, the main attraction, especially when we get into the KIs, is all gonna be about that flow aim. We're gonna kickstart with a double miss coming in from both these players. Both of them gonna fall early on in that disc spike, and you already see the incredible density in this map. A lot of weird overlap patterns, a lot of weird, you know, flowing patterns that these players have to toy with. But you know, as we're getting into that 1/3 section, we're gonna get closer and closer to that first KI. owoMaxx is gonna find that miss, and it's back into the flow. These patterns, they just go into themselves, are so easy to misread. And currently, you know, the scoreline is extremely close. It looks like that miss from owoMaxx was a bouncer break, which means that both players are still dead even on the line. We're slowly but surely edging towards that second half as both players hit that incredibly dense section. And the map is beginning to heat up. The break comes in. The players see the score. So once again, oh my goodness, the breaks love giving these players a heart attack. Holy crap. Yeah, we're moving into the zigzag patterns, and we're into that KI. The 1/3 sections once again come to attack these players, but for what it's worth, I mean, both of them holding, they hit all of those sliders. They are completely acing that KI. Oh my goodness. And as of right now, we are getting into the more snap-heavy section of the map. The weird patterns continuing to, you know, continue to be thrown at these players. And owoMaxx is holding a very, very slight score lead, but anything can happen in this final quarter of the map. Any miss, and that miss is gonna come out from owoMaxx as Horimiya seizes the day, seizes the opportunity to immediately steal that pick back. No, it looks like he's gonna look very good moving to that last KI. Hits all of those weird patterns. Can he hold to the very end? It looks like he will. Horimiya, a very solid way to win their own pick, providing a huge attack towards owoMaxx. And now with that, owoMaxx is only at a measly 275k HP. With another point to read Horimiya's name, the pressure is on. owoMaxx needs to find the picks, and he needs to find them quick. I'm looking at the double time 3 pick. I'm sort of looking back at it in retrospective, and I think what owoMaxx needs here is something that's divisive. I think owoMaxx needs something that he can win outright in order to, you know, sort of retaliate to the consistent attacks, the consistent large attacks that Horimiya has been throwing at him. Because Horimiya is only down about 100 HP. That is absolutely, 900 HP. That's absolutely nothing. So, you know, owoMaxx needs something strong to respond with. So that's why I don't think that going for something more accessible, such as maybe a DT1 or DT2, is the wisest. If I had to choose, honestly, man, the thing is, I really don't know, because Horimiya making that DT3 so close really shut off a lot of what a lot of maps that owoMaxx can play into. You know, I don't believe that he'd be the most poised to go into another mechanics tapping pick. I could, however, see a Harrock pick coming in from owoMaxx. I think maybe not Harrock 2, maybe a Harrock 1 would be an interesting pick, but no, we're gonna stay into that mechanics ballpark. We're gonna go into No Mod 2, a classic song, I believe one of the longer maps in this pool, if not, let me just do a quick check, if not the second longest map in this pool, ignoring, of course, the Uparts and the No Mod 1. This is a certified hook classic, you know, 220 BPM, light speed slash speedy stamina. This map features, this is sort of your cookie cutter bread and butter No Mod 2. I mean, it's an Imperial Circus Decadence map, so you already know it's gonna be about, you know, metal screams alongside a whole lot of bursts, a whole lot of streams. I don't know how much these streams will impact these players when it comes to a stamina standpoint at this SR. I know both these players are relatively capable when it comes to the mechanics, so I don't expect either side to be necessarily challenged by a lot of the burst that we are going to be seeing in this matchup. But for what it's worth, I think the tenacity, the focus is going to be very important. And especially given how owoMaxx is currently at the back foot during this matchup, that focus is going to be very important. Already, we're going to begin this match with owoMaxx holding that slight accuracy lead, but we've seen this time and time again. Horimiya has the combo, and the combo is what has been working in favor of him throughout this entire matchup. We aren't anywhere near the streams to come. We're sort of in the aim section of the map, so both players slowly getting warmed up to the BPM. Slowly but surely, we are gonna get into that KI, instantly coming to attack these players. I find it very interesting that owoMaxx is going for that hidden preference on the flow aim. You know, one might say that it provides more uncertainty to that combo, but I mean, owoMaxx is proving that perhaps even the hidden is improving their accuracy somewhat. You know, I hate hidden preference players as much as the next guy, but for what it's worth, it is working. And both players gonna get out of that first stamina section scot-free, but we're moving into the flowing section, and here's where the hidden preference might come by owoMaxx in the back. But as it stands right now, both players are still trudging ahead, dead even. Slight accuracy lead in favor of owoMaxx, but it looks like both players gonna get out of that flowing section scot-free, and we're still neck and neck as we walk towards that second half of the map. We're still at 900 combo. We're slowly inching towards that 1K mark. Once again, the tension is building slowly but surely in the room. That build-up is amounting slowly but surely. And very soon, we're gonna get right back into that flowing section. The stamina, however, gonna give these players some of that free combo to work with. However, Horimiya does seem to be losing out on quite a bit of accuracy. owoMaxx gonna be pulling a hit at 99.27, and the scoreboard opens. Both of these players are dead even. They see the scoreline, and I mean, here's where nerves become a factor for both of these players, you know. More so for owoMaxx. We have seen before how they unfortunately could not hold it together in the previous maps. So if I were owoMaxx, I'd definitely be feeling that urge to really hold on to that combo, try to gain as much attack as he can over Horimiya, especially during this very vital point in the map. We're getting into the 1/3 section, and it looks like everybody is gonna get out of the clear in that drum break, and we're gonna move right back into the jumps. This is where the jumps come in tandem with the flow aim patterns, and both of them hit everything. The break opens, the familiar tune of Senshin no Kairi no opens up, and we're back into the action, full thrust into the final KI. A few ag drops, a bunch of ag drops coming in from both players. Never mind, last quarter of the map. This is, you know, Horimiya's only chance to go down, and this is owoMaxx's only time to get that big attack that he desperately needs to stay alive during this matchup. The longest streams of this map are coming in, but both players are racing towards the end, completely unfaltered. 1.8k combo and counting, and I think, dare I say, we're gonna see that fabled double FC coming in on this No Mod 2. An incredibly stellar performance coming in from both of these players as they reach the tail end and enter into the final burst of the map. That final spinner comes in, and a 100k score difference in favor of owoMaxx. You know, any attack is something. And for what it's worth, as long as owoMaxx isn't losing that HP, he's making progress. He might not have gotten that big 200, 300k score lead that he would have wanted to, you know, fight back against Horimiya's onslaught. But for what it's worth, not taking any damage is better than, you know, getting shot down to that scary threshold. Okay, alright. Just took a quick sip of water and it looks like we're back. Right now, this matchup has been going back and forth twice now. We're gonna get into sort of the comfortable mid-game of the matchup. Here's where, you know, the picks start to get a bit thinner. Not thin enough that, you know, you're literally forced to pick between two options, but for what it's worth, these players need to be a bit more careful when it comes to the picks at hand. Currently, I think Horimiya definitely is probably looking towards going for a more control slot. The only question is, what will he go for? I was gonna say either a Hard Rock 2 or a Nomad 5, and we are gonna see that Nomad 5. Oh man, this makes me happy. You know, this makes me happy. This is from the 6-Digit World Cup Grand Finals, a custom song by Domi from Yobimo Entertainment. Lovely song, lovely customs, lovely OS original for the 6-Digit World Cup, and I'm personally very happy to see it here. I do think, however, this is going to be a very dangerous pick for owoMaxx. I think any critical hit coming in from Horimiya right now would just utterly decimate owoMaxx. He cannot afford to take another 350k tank to that HP bar. So, you know, if a repeat of what we saw in that PS1 comes true, it could be a bit dangerous. But for what it's worth right now, it looks like both players exercising equal comfort when it comes to this map. So, you know, for now, we're just gonna get into some of the reading of this map. Interestingly enough, owoMaxx, the hidden preference player of all time, is opting to go for that hidden, and Horimiya is gonna be the first one to find that miss. owoMaxx now on the pursuit for that score lead. It's looking extremely scary now, as that scoreline is gonna slowly but surely, you know, compound towards owoMaxx. Is gonna get even more intense if owoMaxx can make it out of that first KI, and it looks like he just will be able to. We're going into that second third of the map, and Horimiya is now on the back foot when it comes to this Nomad 5. This section of the map gonna be a bit of easy combo for both of these players. But after this section, we get into extremely fast sliders that overlap over each other, and you know, if not the reading that will trip you up, perhaps the aim will, especially given the CS 4.8 nature of this map. It's very, very precarious to hit, very volatile to hit, and there's a lot of uncertainty, especially if you're owoMaxx going on the hidden. But we're off to the races. Here we go. The flow aim comes in, and Horimiya is going to be the first one to find that miss. Looks like they found a misread at the very beginning of that KI. Meanwhile, owoMaxx in a pool ahead with a incredible 600 combo, and we're gonna get into that KI. Here's where the kick sliders come in, the flow aim coming to attack these players. Last quarter of the map, and oh my goodness, owoMaxx is just absolutely decimating this map. Never mind what I said before about how owoMaxx can't take a 350k score lead. He's not gonna take that 350k score lead. He's gonna deal it right back to Horimiya, and now we are dead even. Or maybe not dead even, but, you know, we're a lot closer in terms of that HP bar. Looks like Horimiya has, you know, taken the bait from owoMaxx. Line, hook, and sinker. owoMaxx will be pulling ahead with a maximum 350k attack towards Horimiya on their own pick. Not just securing a very big hit to Horimiya's HP bar, but a breakpoint on the scoreboard. So now things are getting interesting. Here's where the highest seeded player owoMaxx is gonna, you know, make the matchup interesting. Gonna put that first big breakpoint on the board. And now Horimiya has to deal with, you know, trying to find that breakpoint somewhere else in this matchup. Alright, hello, we are back in the game. So sorry. It looks like we joined back when owoMaxx is finally gonna go for that Hard Rock 2. I was talking about owoMaxx trying to pick it to the Hard Rocks early on, and it looks like we're finally gonna see the Hard Rock 2 come in. This Hard Rock 2 Silver Orbit is a 147 BPM map. This map features a lot of flow aim. And in tandem with the CS 6.5, it's definitely going to be testing your, control when it comes to the precision. It's going to be testing your cursor speed as well. I think this pick was guaranteed to come from owoMaxx, being a very strong Hard Rock player, being a player that naturally just favors the Hard Rock / DTs. The Hard Rock pick was bound to happen, and it was only a matter between Hard Rock 1 and Hard Rock 2. And Hard Rock 2 definitely makes a lot of sense for a player looking to abuse the Hard Rock, given how Hard Rock 1 is definitely more accessible than the Hard Rock 2 when it comes to skill set. But we are off to the races. Once again, I'm not too sure how well this Hard Rock abuse will go. This definitely seems as though, more so a comfort pick from owoMaxx rather than a necessary, play to beat Horimiya's weaknesses. And as it stands right now, both players are sort of dead even with, Beat Horimiya definitely showing that they are no stranger to this kind of map. But this is an incredibly volatile map. It's very easy to, find an accidental miss on this map. The song might not provide intensity, but it's really one of those maps where you can blink once and whoops, there's your score. So, as it stands right now, we're moving into the horizontal flow aim. A lot of linear, weird, wide angle flow aim streams. But until we see the first miss, there's nothing much gonna happen. The map is heating up. The angle is becoming more and more prevalent. The directional changes becoming more and more abundant as we move into that second half of the map. And here we get into the long streams, these 30-note streams, so incredibly intensive, so nerve-wracking. And I mean, might I just add, given how both these players are so dead even when it comes to the combo, any miss is going to be significant, and Reed Horimiya is going to be the one to find that miss, as now owoMaxx is on the offensive, looking to grow this scoreline more and more in favor of themselves. They are hitting that high critical hit benchmark, that 300k scoreline, as you look at the top right of the screen, and Reed Horimiya's HP bar is absolutely devastated as we move into a calmer section of the map. Reed Horimiya is going to be left with a slither of health just by the damage cap of 350k, but oh my goodness, Reed Horimiya has now backed into a tight corner as owoMaxx secures a match point guarantee alongside knocking Reed Horimiya down all the way to that 57k. What a way to win a point from owoMaxx. I think at the end of the day, what really played in favor of him was that comfort on the Hard Rock. And, on low SR, comfort is everything, that consistency is everything. The map, you might be able to play a map, but whether you can get a 900k score, or in this case a 1 mil score, consistently on the board is a whole different story. And it seems as though owoMaxx just exercised a lot more confidence, a lot more consistency on this Hard Rock 2. What a way to, tie things up. owoMaxx finding that the short end of the stick very early on the map with Reed Horimiya absolutely dominating on that PS1. But, owoMaxx winning, I believe, 2 points in a row, a breakpoint and his own pick. 2 points in a row is just looking to beat Reed Horimiya down into the ground, and two very, very large attacks being thrown at Reed Horimiya as well. So whatever sort of board state we see moving from this point on is definitely not gonna favor Reed Horimiya. They have an uphill battle if they want to make this comeback. And if they do want to make this comeback, I mean, they cannot drop a single point moving forward. owoMaxx is already threatening that match point, and not like Reed Horimiya's HP bar can really sustain any more attacks anyways. So Reed Horimiya is definitely going to be threading on thin ice. At this juncture, it doesn't really matter. The score difference doesn't really matter as much anymore. What more so matters is that Reed Horimiya can actually put some points on the board. DT2 pick, very interesting to me, given how owoMaxx early on in the match seemed to, you know, want to go for more of those mechanics picks. We see a sort of reversal of roles in how Horimiya is now going to go for this DT2. This DT2 features a lot of intense 250 BPM streams, you know, streams not as long as anything we're going to see in that No Mod 2, but for what it's worth, you know, definitely going to be putting that speed to the test, going to put your 250 BPM consistency to that test. And as it stands right now, I mean, as you can see, both players not phased at all by the low SR of this map. And it's to be expected given the caliber of the players that we have today. But, you know, DT is really one of those maps where a scoreline can just swing completely out of control from that one miss. We saw it happen on that DT3, and well, we gotta hope it doesn't happen for Horimiya on this DT2. We're moving into the KI. This is where, you know, you see more stacks, more stack bursts in tandem with the aim coming in from the map. Not the longest burst in the world, but still stamina intensive whatsoever. It's still stamina intensive indeed. And we're so thin on the eyes. A lot of misdrops coming in from Horimiya, and with that, owoMaxx gonna hold that accuracy lead. However, this map is longer than you think it is, because we're only at the second half, and still it is dead even between both of these players. You know, it just seems as though the stamina is really beginning to take a toll on Horimiya, as that scoreline is going to slowly but surely grow in favor of owoMaxx, as they're able to improve their accuracy from a flat 99 to a whopping 99.78. The scoreboard opens up and they know how close it is. This is where the nerves might start to hit these players, but both of them unfaltering, at least in terms of that combo. I can't say the same for the accuracy, however, it is still a combo game. Any miss from owoMaxx will cause the score to shift no matter where that miss is placed. But the same can be said for Horimiya, as the tension is rising. That 30 burst comes in and both players completely unfazed. Last quarter of the map is beginning to slow down. And that miss, that window of opportunity for Horimiya is getting thinner and thinner. You need a hope for that miss coming in from owoMaxx, but it seems as though owoMaxx is just completely unwilling to give them that window of opportunity whatsoever. And as the map begins to come to a close, it's going to be GG, well played. It's going to be a 5-2 victory in favor of owoMaxx. I think Horimiya going into this matchup had a lot of good ideas. I love that PS1 pick to kickstart the match, but it seemed as though, you know, the overall well-roundedness when it came to owoMaxx, especially looking at that accuracy, just overall favored owoMaxx, not just when it came from a HP standpoint, but from a point standpoint as well. But yeah, that is going to sum up the first match of MWS. Definitely, you know, at least it's not a sweep. In fact, I think it was a pretty damn close match at some points, especially during the beginning. And it's a C29 versus C36 match in itself. So, you know, you love to see competition in this tournament. So with that, owoMaxx is gonna be the first winner of MWS this week. And congratulations to them for progressing in the winners bracket. Unfortunately, Horimiya will be dropping down to the losers bracket. I do think that they'll be able to put up a good fight down there, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of exciting matches in store for you guys coming up. So sorry that my energy wasn't as high as it typically is in the commentary booth. I promise, you know, hopefully later on it will be a bit more exciting. But I believe, gonna take a quick look at the ref sheet. We actually have a few weekday matches, in fact. On Thursday, 17 UTC, we'll be having a matchup between Squarum and Rivo. And on Friday, 17 UTC, we'll be seeing Shinkiro and Alex Belea. Not to mention, I mean, we might be having some reschedules. I mean, I'm looking at you players. You know, you guys love giving us our diabolical early reschedules. But if anything, it lightens our load during the weekend. So, you know, tit for tat. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, huge shoutouts to Reki for being our lovely streamer for today's match. And you know, I think with that, we can close out this very quick stream. My name has been Gabby Crayola. You are watching the Monodramatic World Stage. And with that, we're going to close the curtains. Thanks for watching.